cry havoc and let slip the dogs of zombie takeout. Ha 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 ha. What's up? Welcome to episode 301 of Zombie Takeout. The B-Movie and Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we've got some listener submitted. This is from Tom Norman on our Facebook page, just kind of generally on the Facebook page. He didn't comment on anything. He asked, so are you guys reviewing the new Rocky Horror? I don't think either of us was planning on it until Tom asked this. Because we talked about it last week after we finished recording. And we have very different opinions on it. So it could be interesting to review.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it as, well, their version does not seem to be a very cult version of it. You know?
Right, yeah, it deliberately wasn't.
Right.
But it is a cover of, or a remake, I guess same thing, of Rocky Horror. So it's kind of in our wheelhouse.
It would be.
If, and I'm just going to go extreme here. If Michael Bay remade Rocky Horror, we'd have to review it.
I think that'd be the most fantastic thing in the world.
In a sense, I suppose.
I mean, think about Rocky Horror with like a shit ton of explosions and
yeah.
just the whole, lift off to back to the planet and everything.
That part would be great. Yeah, the castle lifting off would be spectacular. I don't know about the rest of it. Point is, we'd have to review his version. And this one was just as far off of the original as that would be, I think. This was Fox's version. Not in the sense of, extreme ridiculousness like he would do, but in this sense, they pushed it very, very mainstream deliberately. So, I think it's still in our wheelhouse. So I think, we can do it. Whenever it becomes available on video, who knows? And we also have a voicemail from, as I've been corrected, Boto Winter.
Happy 300 to you too. Also, I, Desmond Tutu. Oh, got carried away with the tutus there. It's Boto Winter, or like one of your colleagues would say, Otto Winter. Enjoyed the 300th episode of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, my favorite. You guys didn't have the copy with the pre-movie? There's a little pre-movie before the main movie. It's about 2 or 3 minutes long, about some soap company there in Britain. I was just curious. Anyway, congratulations on the big 300. May you have 311 more. Don't want to get too greedy. Love the show. Thank you for keeping me awake at night. And, oh, shit. I complained to you guys about yawning, and I did it to y'all. Just busting chops. LTS, you guys are great. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks so much, man. That is awesome to hear you.
And thank you for the correction on the pronunciation of your name. Sorry, I've been pronouncing it wrong. Not only did we not have the copy with the pre-movie, none of us knew about the pre-movie.
Well, I think he's referring to the Crimson Assurance from
possibly
the meaning of life.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking of. We were talking about this before the show, but I knew it wasn't on this.
I don't remember a pre-movie to the Holy Grail.
No.
Unless he's talking about visiting the lovely fjords of Sweden in the credits.
Oh, maybe. Or it could be Crimson Assurance. Although he did say a soap company.
A soap company.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I will have to research this. I meant to earlier in the week, but it got away from me. So I will definitely look into this, and we'll get back to it next week. And no problem yawning. We've done it, apparently.
Oh.
I still don't remember doing it in that episode.
It was probably me, because I mean...
Well, yeah, because you usually, guys, you said go to bed after we finish recording,
yes.
So yeah, more likely you. Anyway, on to this week's movie, which is from 1991, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, We're almost done with the Star Trek movies, or at least the original cast movies.
Yes.
Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Dead Tree Books. Who knew they'd still be around in the 23rd century?
And also brought to you by a dead horse. You could get one more in. I thought I saw it still moving.
I think you could also get like part of another one after that in too.
Oh, definitely. And then you could just replace the horse and
get a new horse and then beat that to death. Yeah,
a couple times too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, we're in space. No, it's like a final frontier of some sort.
They're boldly going somewhere.
They're boldly go, and they're on the Enterprise. Well, actually, we begin with Sulu's ship, the Excelsior, which they kind of bend over backwards to give him this special part to lure him back into the movie because he was done.
More specifically, I think he was done with Shatner.
Well, yeah. So they're out exploring wherever they're exploring, and everything is working just fine. Only his crew looks like a bunch of fuck ups, honestly.
Well, they're basically just an entire crew of red shirts.
Pretty much. Well, that and Human Rand is now like his communications officer, and what's his name? My own worst enemy is his communications officer. Well, why am I blanking on his name? You know, young Jack Nicholson. Christian Slater.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're out exploring, boldly going where no man has gone before, and all of a sudden, a moon blows up in Klingon territory, and Rand wonders if they'd actually report it. We're just like, what? Why did they make Rand an idiot? And so that leads to this whole thing about the Klingon empire is dying. Kronos has a problem with its ozone layer. And because they've spent so much money on their military, they haven't figured out a way to solve it, and it's now too late.
And the moon where they get all their energy from just went boom.
Yes. And they, get most of their energy from this one moon. So they're dying out. I'm not sure how any of that works, honestly. But we'll just go along with it.
I think the technical term is phlebotinum, or is it MacGuffin? One of the two. I always get them confused.
MacGuffin's an item.
Okay, so it's phlebotinum.
I think it's phlebotinum here. So they are. They bring in the big guys. They bring in Kirk because they are going to go on a diplomatic mission.
Because it's a Star Trek movie. That's why they brought in Kirk.
Yes, yes. I mean, who are we going to bring in? The Excelsior.
Right.
Remember the other captain of the Excelsior from the early ones, like the Doogie Howser death?
Oh, yeah. Sulu is an improvement.
Yes, he is. So, so they bring in Kirk. Kirk is escorting the diplomat because it's pretty much like a first contact almost, if you will, or a first communication, I guess.
The Klingons want to broker a peace because they're dying and they need the Federation's help.
I mean, they'd been communicating with Spock all this time, who's, of course, now, the big ambassador in the Federation. That they even bring him into a couple Next Generation episodes to negotiate with Romulans.
Right, yeah. I love the scene with him and Data.
Yes. They're escorting this diplomatic mission, and, of course, out of courtesy, Kirk offers them dinner, which of course does not necessarily go well.
No. Because of the Romulan ale that Kirk had to have because he's just such a rebel.
I don't know if it was just the Romulan ale talking.
Well, it helped.
Or if they would have just fucked it up anyway.
The ale helped, I'm sure.
Who knows? But the reason why Kirk has Romulan ale, of course, is McCoy.
Yeah, right.
They don't mention that, but of course McCoy has a stockpile of Romulan ale. But anyway, so they have this dinner. It doesn't go well. They go back to their ships when all of a sudden they open fire on the Klingon ship. Only they're not sure why there are torpedoes coming from their general direction.
Because they still have all of their torpedoes.
They still have all of their torpedoes. And then two assassins, of course, come over onto the Klingon ship and assassinate most of the, a few Klingons at least, and injure some others. Yeah. But the
basically anybody who got in their way on the way to the
High Counselor is murdered. And of course Kirk and somehow McCoy gets thrown in too, but
because
Kirk,
he's a doctor.
Yes, Kirk gets framed for it and found guilty, sent to a penal colony with McCoy, and it's leaving Spock to solve this mystery of who killed the Klingon counselor, and how can Kirk escape, and can they save civilization yet again? Hilarity ensues.
And I'm going back to the opening credits on this one, because they were just kind of there. There was absolutely no fanfare with the opening credits, which is unusual for a Star Trek movie.
And the music is very Danny Elfman-ish.
Well, it was 91. It was a thing.
Very true. Very true. It was 2 years after Batman, so they were... But it just doesn't really fit with Star Trek.
True. And immediately after the credits, I knew why they'd started so subtly and, without the fanfare. Because immediately afterward, you get the explosion of Praxis.
Oh, yeah.
And it does really kind of throw you after this sort of, very mellow opening.
Now, the centerpiece, of course, of this movie, I've always thought, was that zero gravity assassination.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it holds up. It's not as breathtaking as it was in 91. I think.
And the CGI magenta blood is kind of overused.
But I don't know if it was before this, though.
What I'm saying is it was a nice trick in 91. It probably looked amazing.
Yeah.
But in 2016, seeing it as a bit cheesy, it got way overused.
I mean, it's not breathtaking as it was in 91, but I don't think it's embarrassing either,
Not embarrassing, but it just...
effects that,
of course. But they used it every time.
Yeah. This was the first. This was like a, holy shit.
And just rolling it back, at the meeting, I'll say, I don't know if there's a more formal word when Spock tells Kirk that he volunteered him to go after the Klingons. Right. Someone introduces the CNC, and I just couldn't help but think of CNC Music Factory. I just wanted to hear everybody dance now right at that moment.
Really?
I don't know. It just made me think of CNC Music Factory.
I can't tell you the last time I thought of CNC Music Factory.
Same here up until that line, and I just happened to think of them. Also, 2 months went by really fast, because it was 2 months between the beginning of the movie and that scene.
Really?
And there's no sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because they say Praxis blew up 2 months ago.
Which leads you to wonder, what the fuck was Sulu doing out there?
Well, it didn't take too much to get the word to him, I guess.
Well, I guess working out the whole Michigan after that.
Yeah.
It makes sense to have some time pass between the moon blowing up and negotiations.
Yeah, true.
Spock and
yeah, I guess it would take the Klingons a while to finally, decide to do it. There'd be a lot of infighting and a lot of red tape to get through before they actually initiated peace. By the way, in a featurette on the special edition of the 2-disc DVD, Shatner talks about how he was upset with director Nicholas Meyer for breaking a promise regarding one of his lines. The line in question was when Kirk says, "Let them die," in that scene. Apparently, Shatner does some gesture where he kind of waves it off and shows that he wasn't serious. And Meyer cut it out. He just cut to Spock and held on.
Well, yeah. It is kind of striking that, to hear him talk like that.
Mm-hmm. And you can kind of see his eye rolling and kind of a hand gesture when they cut back to Kirk. Like they didn't quite cut it all out. But I probably only caught it because I'd read that trivia before watching the movie, so I knew it was there.
No, it's a very strange scene.
Yeah.
Just because, here's Kirk just saying, "Fuck him, let him die."
Mm-hmm.
It's very un-Kirk-like.
Right.
Which, I mean, of course, is why Spock is reacting the way he is. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And then the whole dinner scene, Spock just reacting like, what are you guys doing?
I did get a kick out of the electronic ship's whistle.
Oh, yeah.
They've probably used it before, I just didn't catch it, but this time I noticed
think so.
it.
I think they've used it on the shows, too.
Because it sounds like an old school ship's whistle, that two-tone one, but it's, electronic. I also liked the catch on inalienable human rights.
Yeah.
Because the human part was obviously, human-centric, but the inalienable part was a nice touch. And is it me, or does the director really like to show glasses sliding across tables? Every time a ship was hit, there was a glass sitting on a table that slid.
Well, yeah, I only caught that during the Excelsior.
Well, they make a show of it during the Excelsior scene in the beginning, but
Well, I don't remember any other Star Trek where they're fucking drinking tea on the bridge.
Picard never did that?
He didn't drink it on the bridge. He would go to his own room to drink it.
True.
I've never seen someone having a beverage on the fucking bridge.
There was at least one or two other scenes when a ship got hit, you'd see a glass sliding across a table. And I think Lucas ripped off a character design from this movie.
Which one?
The Federation president looks a lot like Ki-Adi-Mundi from the prequels.
Oh.
The Jedi with the kind of cone head and the Fu Manchu.
I always expect him to call someone a dumbass.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I noticed his name in the credits. It was great to see that Kurtwood Smith was in this. I'm a fan of his work.
He was in, I think, earlier ones, too. I think he was in 4.
Okay, probably, yeah. I probably said the same thing at the time.
Like, a bunch of those guys, the admirals and whatever, were in 4 as well.
They'll get brought back for later movies, of course, because continuity.
It's cool that they could. Because, I mean, a lot of times... if that 70s show came along sometime before this, they wouldn't have gotten them back.
Right. Now, when they go to this prison planet, or, the mining planet, Kirk makes a point of saying only a magnetic shield prevents beaming out. I wonder how they're going to get out. They just kind of spell it out right there. And do you think Dax in this movie is related to Jadzia?
I wondered that when I looked at the credits to Dax. Nah.
They don't say anything. I don't think they've ever said anything.
It's just a name they like using.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of related, Michael Dorn plays Colonel Worf, the grandfather of his regular character, Lieutenant Worf on Next Gen.
Oh, definitely remember that, of course. Because
he's got a big scene.
Next Gen, of course, was like 3 or 4 seasons in by the time this one came out. Yeah. So it was a big deal, to have the Next Gen character.
Was Worf on the show at that point? Because he wasn't originally on Next Gen, I don't think.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, he was always on it? Okay.
He was like a lower ranking officer at first. Okay. And then when they got rid of Yar, they made him security officer.
Right. It was. I'm thinking of DS9 he went to like a couple of seasons in.
Yeah, he joined DS9 after Next Gen ended.
Mm-hmm. Iman's performance was surprisingly good. I remember she was in the movie, but I was kind of cringing waiting for her acting. But she was decent.
Yeah, that and it's, I think their first shapeshifter character, which I
was waiting for...
has a cameo in here too somewhere.
Well, René Auberjonois, I think his scene was cut, if I recall correctly from the trivia I looked up. I don't have it in my notes, but yeah, I think he had a scene, but it was cut. I kept waiting for her to say that your natural form is liquid.
Well, right. It would have made sense if they had been thinking of this character to,
Well, it was only a few years before, right?
Yeah, it was.
So it would have made sense if they had, the idea for, I don't remember the species name, but whatever Odo was, and they just kind of worked it into this movie. But she never really shows her true form, I don't think.
And also continuity, women can't be head of council for the Klingon High Command.
Right.
And yet in this one, the daughter...
Yeah. Well, because nepotism, I guess.
But no, there was a big plot point in The Next Generation because they had the 2 sisters.
Oh, right.
Who would
it's been ages since I've seen Next Gen.
They would have ruled themselves, but they couldn't because they were women. And so the one young Klingon was, and they were trying to just control him.
Right.
So it's a pretty big plot point, and they just kind of trample all over it. In fact, that plot point may have predated this movie.
Incidentally, the casting director was Mary Jo Slater, mother of Christian Slater.
Oh, nice.
That's how he got the job. Although, I mean, he'd done other things before this. This was after Heathers and Pump Up the Volume, so he was actually pretty well known.
It was kind of a big deal that, they got Christian Slater, and he was just doing this, just reporting here, Captain.
Yeah, it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it did.
He was putting more into it than a walk-on actor would.
Right.
He was really acting heavy.
That whole crew was just,
Oh yeah, true. Now, Uhura was supposed to give a dramatic speech in Klingon during the film, but midway through production, the element was scrapped and a scene where Uhura was speaking garbled Klingon surrounded by books was added for extra humor.
Yeah.
Air quotes on humor. Nichols protested the scene, wondering why there would be books in the 23rd century, but accepted the change since it would be her last movie. Her last Star Trek movie.
Sometimes you got to stick to your guns.
Well, I mean, senioritis. She was also uncomfortable with some of the racial undertones in the dialogue. Her character was originally to speak the line, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" as the Klingons arrive on the Enterprise, but she refused to say the line and it was given to Chekhov.
Which was a better choice to hear that in the Russian accent.
Yeah, true. Nichols also refused to say, "Yes, but would you like your daughter to marry one?" in reference to the Klingons.
Wow.
But the line was dropped completely, of course.
And right, how could you not catch the racial undertone?
Oh, yeah.
Guess who's coming to dinner? Because, I mean, what's the point of that?
And I think, it was a deliberate undertone, because they were playing on the prejudice that Kirk and a lot of others in the Federation had against the Klingons.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm starting to get a kick out of Bones' propensity to say Vulcan in a way that makes it sound like a profanity.
As far as fucking Kelly just steals this, man.
Oh, yeah. As he does just about all of them.
I mean, as far as Kelly, he does so little, but I mean, he just runs with it.
Yeah. I think he's the reason I've started to like original casting now.
It's the problem with the reboots is that, Urban just doesn't do his character justice, and he's kind of relegated off to the side. But
he's the only one who's really doing an impression of the original. Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto aren't really doing impressions; they're doing their take on the characters.
Yeah.
Carl Urban is really just doing a DeForest Kelley impression, and badly.
But this, I mean, they only give him a handful of lines at most, and just that, what is it with you anyway line just fucking kills. Probably the best line in the whole movie.
And I mean, "You're out of your Vulcan mind" is one of the most classic lines from the series, and it was a throwaway. The delivery was so good.
Yeah.
Also loved the double mind meld. Have they ever done that before?
Yeah, I think most mind melds are double mind melds.
Okay. I've only ever seen the one side, and then in this case Spock had to come in with the two because she was Vulcan and she was guarding against it, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean there's an episode of Enterprise where it's kind of compared to rape, I mean,
yeah, I was thinking about that when he did that because it is a violation.
Yes. But, of course, it was in the interest of saving...
yeah, of course.
Saving civilization.
Right. As Kirk makes very clear at the end. Incidentally, that line about saving civilization and the whole thing in the end where Kirk, jumps and saves the president, I thought that was in Generations, which is why I thought Kirk died on stage. I think I talked about that in a previous episode. I thought Kirk died on stage in Generations. I was transposing the end of this movie onto Generations somehow.
So, have you seen, the urban legend, I haven't seen it in print anywhere. It was just something I had heard that he was supposed to have died there.
Yeah.
And the test audiences hated that ending.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So they changed it to him not dying. I'm not sure how they do that exactly, if they just reshoot the laser, or do they...
Well, yeah, they just take the CG and have the laser miss him instead of hit him.
Yeah.
It's simple. And they probably reshot it because, death scene.
They would have to, yeah.
Yeah, true.
It was fun. Oh my.
That'll be in, 2 weeks? Yeah.
Really?
Because we had to cut a few out.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Gene Roddenberry expressed his displeasure with the film's storyline after viewing a rough cut, complaining that the Klingons were simply used as generic villains, and the society and cultural viewpoint was never really explored. After the release of the film and Roddenberry's death, executive producer Leonard Nimoy admitted that Roddenberry had been right. Subsequent episodes of Next Gen and DS9 explore Klingon society and culture extensively.
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's some great Next Gen episodes about the Klingon Empire.
Well, and this movie is really what sets up Worf.
Yeah.
And not just because Michael Dorn had a role as that character's grandfather, but it sets up the peace between the Federation and the Klingons, which led to Worf.
Well, yeah, and they also use the name Kitmer, which, if I'm not mistaken, is where Worf's parents were, and they got killed in some massacre.
Okay.
There. And that's how he gets sent to Earth to be raised there.
Also, this is the only Star Trek movie to win the Saturn Award for Best Science Fiction Film.
Really? This one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll get into later when we get to the brains, which, And, of course, at the end, they once again steal the Enterprise. How many times does this know?
Well, they blast the shit out of the Enterprise, too, which... How the thing is still, we'll just take it for a joyride, even though as a fucking hole blasted.
Yeah, well, it had 3 holes in the saucer section.
Right. Let's just take it for a cruise, though.
And they got an order right at the end of the movie to take it back to be retired, and Kirk decides to take it for a joyride on the way, basically to take the scenic route.
Yeah.
On to sequels and remakes.
The battle scene, though, towards the end. It could have been so much better. Yeah. It was very lazily done.
It wasn't the Cloud Nebula scene from, was that Khan? The fight in the clouds?
I think it was. Yes, you're right. It had to have been Khan, because I would have liked Search for Spock so much better.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that whole cat and mouse thing was great. But then just the resolution... Well, first off, if they're firing torpedoes at you, you know where they are.
Yeah.
Their position has been given up. And why don't they have phasers?
And the fact that the cloaking device gives in a little bit when they fire.
Right.
You can visually see the ship.
Why weren't the Enterprise's shields working at all?
That's true. They should have had their shields up normally. Wouldn't it just make sense to fly with your shields up?
I mean, they said towards the end their shields were wearing off, but their shields were not doing shit to these torpedoes. They were just getting blown up for no reason, it felt like. So they didn't have to destroy the Enterprise yet again. They could have avoided that cliche, I thought, and actually had a better, kind of cat and mouse battle with 3 ships involved.
Yeah, especially when they brought in the Excelsior, because they really just brought in the Excelsior to add a little bit of a twist and the double tap at the end.
Well, right, have the 2 of them teaming up against one ship. I think they could have had a great scene. Instead, they do the doctored torpedo to find out their position.
Which I think was a nice touch.
Which could have been great, except all it was like an explosion cloud in front of a Klingon bird of prey.
Right. The idea was clever. The tailpipe line was a bit anachronistic. I don't know if they've ever established what cars look like in the 23rd century, but I don't think they'd have tailpipes.
Well, they could have just beamed over and put some bananas up the tailpipe.
Some line about, it has to have some kind of emission would make sense. Because everything does. But the tailpipe line was anachronistic and annoying.
But I think this could have been a fantastic battle scene that they just phoned in pretty much
a little bit,
at the end. But on to sequels and remakes. Could they ever make a sequel to a movie like this?
Last verse, same as the first.
Oh boy.
Well, last time we're doing that line. But I mean, it fits because there's one more with is it? You said Kirk, Spock, and Bones, is it?
I think I'm trying to think. There's Kirk, Spock. I think there's Scotty and Chekhov.
Okay, so everybody but Nichelle Nichols, really, and Sulu, George Takei.
I don't know if McCoy's in that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he was about to retire. That's right.
No Sulu, no Uhura,
and no Bones.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it in a couple weeks, though. It's it's not the entire crew. It's just a couple of them.
Right. Plus Generations. It was really a next gen movie that they just decided to stick original cast in to kind of pass the torch.
They wanted to have all of them there, but it would have been like one line each.
Yeah.
It would have been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead they gave 3 lines to each one, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been ages again. This is the only one I don't really remember much of, Generations. Especially now that I know I completely misremember the ending. I really don't remember any of Generations.
One of the best villains, McDowell.
That I vaguely remember, but again, not by much. So that'll be interesting in a couple weeks.
Yes.
On to Brains?
On to Brains.
It's still a Star Trek movie, and it's still fairly good, so I'm going to go 4.
You know what? I'm going to keep this from being recommended, though. I'm going 3.5. Because I'm putting it not quite as good as 4 and 5, but better than 3.
All right. And what have we learned?
We learned that you just need to know when to hang it up.
And I learned that I'll see you on the dark side of the... Oops.
Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? They did a slow clap.
Yeah, they did. You're right.
How often do you get to see that in a movie, unironically?
Yeah, right. Well, it was the early 90s, which was when they were kind of starting to become ironic. But they still had a little bit of gas in them.
They were just about to become ironic, I think, right? Like maybe a year later.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All right, so until next time, when we'll be reviewing Mascots. Been waiting for this one. I have been purposely not watching it, waiting for us to review it. Can't wait.
I've seen it on Netflix. No, I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
And Mrs. Scotto was like, "Hey, we could watch that." I'm like, "No, we're reviewing that one." So
yeah, so finally we get to see it. Until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. You'll also find the request form. If you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. And, of course, the recommendations list. Missed it by that much.
And I'm the one keeping it off.
Yeah, it's unusual. Well, it kind of goes old school, though. Because in the early days, as you put it, you were the harder grader. And then I took that role for a while, so we're going a little old school on this one.
Yeah, but you'd expect Star Trek that I would be the one to,
Good point, yeah.
Put it over. But I think, keeping them in perspective,
Yeah, I really didn't think about the big battle scene at the time, but you're right.
And Chang just could have been developed more than just random Shakespeare lines. I can't imagine.
I think I like that about him, though.
I can't imagine. I think I said this before we started, but just imagining them handing him the script and going, wait, right. I'm just saying Shakespeare lines?
And a brief reference to Sherlock Holmes, yeah.
You're right.
You can also email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1, or for the Alphanumerically Challenged.
You can go to hell.
414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you'll always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee, and until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
Well, I hope you're happy.
Winter, as one of your colleagues would say, Bado Winter. Enjoyed the 300. I'm I tried to fix it from the auto translate, but it's still a little jarbled.